The dawn of a new era begins.
Good evening and welcome back to License to Parent, the sequel. Once again, for those of you who are just joining us, happy Tuesday. My name is Teresa Mulhern. I have 2 child care centers in Iowa, a little over 400 sets of parents. And my co-host today is Tori Fees, who is a registered nurse with over 30 years experience in child care. And we created this show so that we could help parents with all the things that don't come in the manual. So when we come back in just a minute, we're going to talk about the first principles of school-age parenting, the rules, if you will, the Bible of raising a child age 6 to 46, or whenever they move out, get a job, and don't move back in with their wife and kids. We'll be back in a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit, you're our hero!
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast 1 Live. Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders, building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com. Or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
Welcome back to Parenting. We're discussing the school age years. The show's called License to Parent. My name's Teresa Mulhern, and my sidekick is Tori Fees.
Hey, kids.
Between the two of us, how many years do we have in the game now?
50, 60.
56 or 57
Yeah.
between the two of us.
That's a lot.
Years of raising other people's children.
Helping raise other people's children.
Surrogate parenting when parents are unable to be there for themselves.
Right.
And that is how I kind of see what we do, is we are the surrogate when you can't be there, when you have to be at work making a living to be able to afford to put that child into braces in college. Actually, we get the pretty good part of it because we get to play with them and get paid for it. You get to pay us to play with them and then pay for the braces in the college. So I always tell people I get paid to play with Play-Doh. Well, that was true before I became a boss.
Right.
Now that I have 2 centers, I don't get to play with Play-Doh much anymore, but I kind of miss playing with Play-Doh. I do want to, before we go any further, tell my beautiful daughters and gorgeous sons, this is the 8 o'clock show, my darlings. At the end of this show, before I get to the 9 o'clock show, I will expect a text from Dad saying you're in your PJs, ready to go to bed.
Fred. Go to bed, Fred.
Exactly. Go to bed, Fred. So
Night, Cadence.
exactly. And you better say hi to Cole.
Hey, Cole, Daniel, Mookie.
There you go. So now we've said hello to our children.
Love you, boo.
So, on to the topic. We are talking about the first principles of school-age parenting because school-agers are different. Now, we're going to hope that you laid a foundation from ages 0 to 6. But we're going to run this show with the assumption that you didn't have our infinite wisdom when you started, and that you might not be at the same level of parenting that some of these techniques are geared for. So if you hear us suggest something and you start laughing hysterically, it's okay to laugh hysterically, but we want you to strive to get to the point where you can do these things with your child because we want you to be on track. We want you to be on track for your child's first job. We want you to be on track for their first date. This is an important one that parents usually don't pre-prepare for. We want you to be on track before they start having sex.
Oh.
Another one you might think about and look at your 2-year-old and go,
Oh, ew, yuck.
exactly.
I don't
So
want
we're
to
going
about
to
that.
talk about things, and we're going to give you different age examples. So each thing we talk about, we're going to talk about from the perspective of a parent of an 8-year-old, or a parent of a 16-year-old, or the parent of a 30-year-old who's moved home for the 3rd time. Okay? So think of this as a past, present, and future kind of a lesson for you no matter where you're at. So, first principle of school-age parenting in my book is establishing the correct relationship with your child is key. And Tori's going to tell you what that means.
I'm the boss of you, little buddy.
Exactly.
You're not the boss of me.
Yes. So, old school parenting, we heard a lot of phrases growing up like, because I said so.
Right.
Or you do it because I told you to. Or I'm going to give you something to cry about.
Right.
That was my dad's personal favorite.
Right.
You're going to cry at me? I will give you something to cry about. Go clean the garage.
Right.
So parenting's different now.
It sure is.
You have a lot of outside influences telling us it's not okay to spank your child. It's not okay to discipline your child. All your child needs is love and happiness and fairy dust, and everything will turn out okay. In reality, society has expectations for your child. And what we want to talk about is preparing your child to live in the real world outside of the 4 walls of your home, where not everybody's going to receive them with the same loving, open, praising arms that they've come from. And we want to talk to you about how to prepare them to be successful in that world. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is how early you start with societal expectations. And we covered that a little bit earlier in the early years, but we did talk about establishing things like a work ethic starts at...
As soon as they can walk.
Exactly. They can walk, they
They
can
can
work.
work. That's right.
And over the age of 6, absolutely there needs to be responsibility and chores.
Right.
So from the ages of 6 to 10, I feel that children need to have at least a daily chore, and they need to have a couple of weekly chores that are done on the weekend when the family is doing chore day. That's what we call it. We have 1 day a week where we have chore day, and until the work is done, we each take jobs and get them done. Now, we are in the very privileged minority right now where we actually have a wonderful woman named Christina. Hi, Christina.
Hey, Christina.
Who comes in and takes fantastic care of my children in the morning until it's time for them to come to preschool at my daycare. And she also makes sure that our house is picked up every day and vacuumed and that our laundry is done. And so my children's chores are less than probably other families' chores. They have to empty the dishwasher, they have to wash the dinner dishes, they have to clean up their own room. But there are times that I feel like they should have a few more chores than they do. As far as 6 to 10, what do you think about the chores?
Yeah, it's, in my household too, I have somebody that works for me, and so I have a cleaning person and an only child, and I'm not married. So this is actually one area that I'm not so great at. I've had to really make a concerted effort to give my son responsibilities, because it's a heck of a lot easier to not have him do it. And it is a challenge, even for someone who knows the right thing to do. It's a challenge on a day-to-day basis to segment out stuff for him to do that I would normally just pay to have somebody do. Yes. And so, it affects all of us. It is so much easier to not have the day-to-day chores, and you have to make yourself do it. You have to realize that you are, it's not an issue of whether or not he can do it or whether or not he should do it. He must do it because he needs to have that skill set for his whole life. So it's not necessarily, in our worlds, because we have cleaning people, it's not necessarily that it's because it's survival of the family to have this done in our worlds, but we still have, for the survival of that child and the success of that child, you have to give them family group chores to do, and of course their own stuff like clean their room.
And for
how
those
do you do it
of
with
you,
your kids? How do you set up the chore system? I mean, how is it done? How do you do it with 8 kids?
Well, our children are so different in age. Mm-hmm. So obviously the 26 and 24-year-old, hey Aaron, hey Zach, are grown. Mm-hmm. Zach is married, and they live far away. They have jobs, and we see them very seldom because they're grown adults with careers and no time for us. Mm-hmm. Our 21 and 19-year-old are both in college, and so they have their own chores because they live outside of the home, so they have to keep their own apartments clean. Right. My daughter does a great job at that. Occasionally I visit my son's apartment and have chest pains, but he recently got a roommate that works for me, so now I have the 411 on how clean is the apartment and should I come inspect, so that's pretty nice. So really the ones that are at home that we deal with the chores are the 11 and 13-year-old and the 5 and 3-year-old. Right. The 11 and 13-year-old, in addition to the basic cleaning chores, their biggest chores come in caring for their younger sisters. Oh, yeah. It's also the biggest source of griping in my house. How come I have to turn on the Smurf movie again? I just turned it on for them an hour ago. How come I have to get her a sippy of milk? Matthew hasn't done anything all night. So we do have the whole, it's not my turn. Or one of the biggest things we hear from our children is, I didn't make this mess, and so I don't need to clean it up. And what I tell them is that in order for us to have time to do the fun things, in order for us to be able to go camping, to be able to go to Adventureland, to be able to go to the swimming pool, we have to get these things done. And what I say to my children is, and they will nod, you can either help me with this and I can get done and we can do something fun, or you can leave me to do it, in which case I'll drag my feet, drag it out all day, and I will not have time to do anything with you. So if you want to have time to do something with me, then you help me get my chores done. Because ultimately, the running of the household is the parent's responsibility, obviously. But if your children aren't helping, then what I tell them is it's an exchange. You help me and I'll have time for you.
What about stuff like vacuuming and doing?
My children don't really gripe about that. We have central vac, so that's kind of cool.
Helps.
They think that's a cool
What
toy.
age do you have them start vacuuming?
Oh, my 5-year-old knows how to run a vacuum. She uses the central vac and vacuums her room, and the 3-year-old will try. She's not great at it, but she'll try. But the girls do vacuum their own room when they get cracker crumbs or something. I have to help take the vac upstairs, but they do vacuum on their own. So, but here's what I will tell you, parents. For those of you who subscribe to the theory, pick your battles, I'm going to tell you, my response to that is, I'm the queen. There are going to be no battles. Right. And so when your child balks at, I don't want to do that, the bottom line is that if you let it go 2, 3, 4, 5 times, getting them to do it the 6th or 7th time is virtually impossible. So the expectations and the boundaries have to start at a young age, and they have to stay consistent, and they have to grow. So whereas your 5-year-old might only be responsible for feeding and watering the dog, when she's 6, then you add in, walking the dog with parent supervision. When she's 7, then you add in, here's how we groom the dog and bathe the dog. You can add on to chores a little at a time as they grow, and it makes it a lot easier than if you wait until they're 9 and all of a sudden say, I think you're old enough to have some responsibilities around here, and you're going to do this, and this. And they're looking at you like, wait a minute, where did my sweet life go?
I think some of it is that if you, like I only have one kid, and I know of course that he has to clean up after himself, that he has to put laundry away. Those are just, regular day-to-day stuff. I think where parents I could use some guidance, I'm sure a lot of parents would, is what age do they start cooking? What age do you have them start mowing the lawn? What age do they start vacuuming? What's the average age? In our situations, we have, people who do sort of the really big, heavy cleaning.
Yeah.
And it's, kind of concerted effort to try to figure out what the best age is to start on the big stuff like cooking, lawn mowing and stuff. Right. Yeah. How do you guys do that?
You know what? We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
Okay.
We are going to go to a commercial break because those are expected in life. But don't go away because we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the ages for dishwashing, lawn mowing, and everything else fun. We'll be back in just a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast 1 Live. Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders, building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
Welcome back to Licensed to Parent, the sequel, where we talk about kids age 6 to 46 who move in, move out, move in with the wife and kids. We're going to talk about raising your child until it's their turn to raise you. Anyway, tonight we're talking about the first principles of school-age parenting. And we've been talking about societal expectations and chores. Now we're going to talk about respect for authority. Teaching your children respect for authority is one of the biggest helps you can do for your child throughout their entire life. At a very early age, you need to start talking to them about the hierarchy in society. And one of the things that often falls through the cracks is respect for their elders. And so from a young age, I find it very useful to explain to my children that there are some things, some wisdoms that only come with living life, and that at age 12 or 14 or 16, you cannot possibly have the life knowledge that someone in their 40s has had. And even in your 20s, you can't have the life knowledge that somebody in their 30s, 40s, 50s has had. And that there are some individuals that by virtue of what they do or who they are, command respect. We talk about respect for law enforcement. We talk about respect for firemen, respect for medical personnel. Teachers are a very, from day one, there needs to be the expectation, and not just school-age teachers, but daycare and preschool teachers as well. And part of that conversation needs to be that boredom or lack of interest are not an excuse or a justification for misbehavior. And so that's one of the first things that needs to be covered. If you have a child that, of course, is a genius, because we covered that, and you feel that their misbehavior can be blamed on boredom or can be blamed on a lack of interest of what's being taught at school, let me be the first to tell you that there are going to be a million times in your child's life that they're going to be bored. They're going to be bored in school. They're going to be bored in their first job. They're going to be bored in their volunteer work. There are going to be a lot of times that life is not all interesting and fireworks and guns and fanfare. Your child has to understand that self-restraint and appropriate behavior are expected at all times. So when dinner's a little late coming at the restaurant, that's not an open license to go running around all the tables, climbing on the dividing walls, pulling down the plants, assaulting the waitress. It's a very large issue currently with even children as young as 2, 3, 4 years old.
Yep.
You go to a restaurant, you sit down thinking, oh, I'm going to have a nice romantic dinner with my husband. And here comes a 3-year-old with syrup all over his hands, grabbing at your shirt, wanting to talk to you because he wants the crayons on your plate. So from day one, talk about respect for the individuals, talk about appropriate behavior. That's one we're going to cover. And understand that from the very first day that your child goes into a social setting, that society will not see them the same way you do. And I think that that's something that parents frequently not necessarily don't know, but that they, in their subconscious, realize it but don't acknowledge it, is that when you go out with your child into public, other people don't see your child the same way. They don't see your child as terribly cute even when they're climbing up on the divider. They don't see your child as adorable when they're telling the waitress that they want their dinner right now and they're not drinking milk and they want a soda. I think that parents forget somehow that the way you see your child is not necessarily the way other people see your child. And in order for your child to truly be successful in life, they have to understand that there are different parameters for home and different parameters for public, but that even at home, there still has to be the respect for authority.
Yeah. I think one of the things that happens in the birth to 5 crowd is that most of their public exposure is paid. The parents pay for it. They pay directly to a preschool or they pay to a home daycare. But once they get into school, then they're in a non-paid situation. So once they get to be 5, 6 years old, the adults that are spending their day-to-day life with them are not reliant upon a salary that the parent gives. So that puts the kid into this big fish bowl of other kids, and their expectations are not based on the adult pacifying the parent. It's a completely different relationship than what it is in a private daycare. And so the tolerance level, once you get into unpaid society, is way lower than it would be in a child care situation where you're giving your $200 a week directly to a daycare center or to another provider. The tolerance level is way lower in a school system. And one of the ways that we know that right now is that bullying policies, authority contracts are now happening all the way down to kindergartners. So the only reason for the school systems to have those is because they've had a problem with authority issues all the way down to 5-year-olds.
And for those of you who don't know, who are not parents who bring your child to Tori or to my child care center, we just issued bullying and sexual harassment policies at both of my child care centers for children starting at the age of 4. So now in our centers with children as young as 4, we are allowing parents to file complaints on behalf of their child for bullying incidences, for sexual harassment incidences. And you would think that sexual harassment would be a term that you would never ever hear when referring to 4-year-old children. But when you have a child who is peeing in front of another child outside because they think it's funny, or exposing themselves to another child because they feel like, you show me mine, I'll show you yours, is interesting. Those are actually incidences of sexual harassment, and they have to be treated that way. And so when we first issued the policy, parents thought that it was simply for physical violence, kids hitting, kids biting, kids kicking. But in reality, it covers a whole lot more complex issues that parents don't speak to their children about. A lot of parents don't have the conversation with their child of, it's never okay to put your business in another child's face. And it's one of those where they don't want to bring it up because they're afraid then their child might find it funny, or they're afraid their child might do it because now it's interesting because they've told them don't. And we all know that if you tell a child don't do something, then half the time they'll run out and try it just to see how it works. And so that's an issue for parents of things that they would not even think to talk about. To children that are just starting school in first grade, they're actually starting to talk to them about these issues before they ever hit school now.
I think that bullying policies that are now common across the country and all the way down to the youngest elementary school are going to hit centers and all the way down to age 3. I think you guys at your business, I think it was generous to start that at age 4. I think probably within the next couple of years, you're probably going to have to bring that down to age 3. Because I think that that's the age where kids can really do physical damage to staff and to obviously to other kids and to themselves. And that's the age where they can talk pretty well. By the age of 3, there's some understanding. And I think that it's not just for protection of the kids. I think that there's going to be more violence towards adults in that young of age group, not violence towards teachers, and the centers are going to have liability for the injuries that these kids exact upon the adult caregivers. Yep. The lack of authority, understanding authority is, very predominant in 5-year-olds and up. It's just, as time goes on, it's actually working its way down to younger and younger children, and the centers have to be protected. They have employees that can easily be injured by a 4 or 5-year-old child that's hurling things or kicking them and knocking them over. And the key word, it really is bullying. That's the term that people understand. Yep. And bullying is working its way into common speak all across the ages of school age, and I really think that it's going to go down into our age groups, the age groups we serve.
I
don't think
actually
we're
had
any
a
choice.
3-year-old break my toe once.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Really?
we ever talked about this. I was in the kitchen.
You never saved me surprise.
I was doing in-home daycare, and this little boy was 3, and he had quite a temper. And I told him no to a 3rd serving of snack. And he got angry, and he knocked a wooden bar stool over. And when he knocked the wooden bar stool over, it fell exactly onto my big toe right in the center of the bar stool.
Ouch.
And it actually broke my toe into several pieces. They had to remove my toenail and put an orthotic boot on, all because of a denied serving of snack. And so that was pretty much when the light went on for me that there has to be some kind of consequence from a parent perspective, teaching your child before you take them out into the world that there's expected behaviors, but it's never ever okay to use aggression. And 9 times out of 10, when we pull a parent aside and try to talk to them about aggression, 2 things come up. Well, he's probably bored.
Yeah.
That's the number one. My child is bored. Your child's going to be bored a lot. Still not okay to hit, still not okay to bite. And the other one is, what did the other child do first? Did the other child touch him? Did the other child bite him? And for those of you who are going to come and ask me that, telling you ahead of time, my immediate response to you is going to be, 2 wrongs don't make a right. So regardless of what happened before, during, and after, violence and aggression get dealt with. So if your child hits back, they're still responsible for hitting, and there's still the consequences for hitting. Because I think that a lot of times children will tell half the story, not the whole story, because they are worried about disapproval or they're worried about being in trouble. I often have parents coming in thinking they know the whole story, and they're angry, and they come and sit down at my desk, and this child's been hurting my child, and I want to know what you're going to do about it. And then we get down to the root of the problem, which is their child is going over and constantly taking this other child's toys. The other child is getting frustrated, then they're throwing the toys. Neither one is right, but the parent needed to hear the whole story in order to understand how things were going in order to modify the behavior.
Right.
All right, so we're going to take a little break for
That
just
goes
a
fast.
couple minutes. I'll tell you what, I don't know where this stuff goes. We
Time flies.
time flies when you're having fun, and me and Tori are always having fun. So we'll be back in just a minute with more Principles of School-Age Parenting.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Get away from my Sumito credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast 1 Live. Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders, building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
Welcome back to Licensed to Parent, the sequel. We are talking about school-age children to young adults. I'm with Tori Fees.
Hi,
She
kids.
is Nanny D, the Daycare Whisperer, and your blog is on where?
Daycare.com.
Daycare.com. So
Love me
something all
some
you guys can get
daycare.com.
with it. And eventually we will have a link from our site as our site gets built. We apologize. It's under construction. I would like to say thank you to a wonderful woman named Billy who's agreed to build it for me. And I'm woefully overdue to send her all the information. So Billy, I am sorry. I will get it to you. And for those of you who are looking at the site under construction, bear with us and we'll get it built as fast as we can. But you do need to read some of Tori's blogs. They are wonderful and they are applicable to every parent everywhere and every child care provider everywhere. So right now we're talking about principles of school-age parenting. This next one is near and dear to my heart. I'm going to skip a few here because I feel like I want to get to some of the really important ones.
Okay.
Here is one that I hold to be true. A lot of parents feel that it is the child care or school's job to educate your child. Wrong answer. So, we're going to talk about what is the school and child care's job, but we're on school age kids, so we're going to deal with the school right now, and I'm going to give you my list. Item A. It is the school's job to provide your child with a clean and safe environment to learn in. We would agree this is true?
Yep.
We would agree this is true. B. It is the school's job to provide your child with teachers who are educated and show up every day to put up with your child's nonsense.
I
True.
love teachers.
We
love you teachers.
Yes,
We are
teachers, most respect.
absolutely heart to heart. You
Yeah.
are our peeps. You guys are the hardest working guys in showbiz. We love you and we hope that we send you kid after kid after kid. That is a blessing
Yep.
to you. That
we
is
hope we
our
send
goal.
you kids that are prepared,
Yes.
respectful, loving, because we could not do what you do. I thought about being a teacher.
No way.
Wanted to teach high school biology. Did some observations to get ready for student teaching. I knew in a week.
It's
No
such a
way.
hard job.
I love children who still think I know everything, who still think that I am all powerful, that I can move a mountain. High schoolers now, rough road. So
and kindergarten teachers.
Yep.
Every kid I look at, and when they go out from my home into the world, I just think this is my gift to the kindergarten teacher.
Yes.
And I hope that every provider looks at their children in that way, that you want to give this kid who has wonderfully well behaved, very respectful, knows how to take turns, knows how to stand in line, knows how to wait while the others are served. That's what we always hope to send you kindergarten teachers who rock.
Yes.
We love you guys.
School responsibility number C, or letter C. It is their job to provide your child with the tools to learn, such as textbooks and learning models. This is true.
That's true.
True. D. It is their job to help your child when asked appropriately, and only if your child is actually trying to help themselves. You would agree?
Right.
I think this is a big area where we have issues of the child comes home, well, I just can't do it. My teacher won't help me. They don't take the time to do it with me. There's a difference between the teacher doing it with your child and the teacher doing it for your child. Same with you. Okay? E. It is their job to give your child a grade based on his actual performance in class and on homework and exams. They should never be asked to pass your child on to keep them with their social peers. Your social peers are people who are your equal, You don't hang around people who hold you back. So, your child should pass a class if they legitimately can pass the class. And one of the biggest issues that I have with the state of Iowa educational system is what they call social advancement, where they will take a child who does not meet the criteria for the grade level and pass them to the next grade level because they don't want them to be ostracized or be a social outcast. Now, I'd like for you to know, Mr. Governor and Department of Education, that it is not fair to those children who do the work, achieve the grade, pass the class, that the other child in question who's being passed on socially ends up with the same high school diploma. Therefore, from the perception of employers, is equally qualified to do the job. You can't get a college degree if you're not putting in the work. They don't socially pass you from baccalaureate to master's so that you can be along in with your peers. So, come time, if your child is not passing a class and the school says to you, should we advance your child or should we hold him back? As a parent, the toughest choice you're ever going to have to make is going to be to make the right one and say, I'm sorry, but until my child masters the basics, I don't want them passed along to an even higher level of learning that they're not going to be ready for. And 8 out of 10 parents will choose to have their children progress to the next grade without the required knowledge to do so. F, your child has a right to an education paid for by your taxes. They only have a right to one free education paid for by your taxes. Your tax dollars do not buy your child the right to repeat a class a second or third time after skipping school, disrespecting the teacher, and ignoring the homework. One of the biggest changes in laws that I would like to see, that I'm going to advocate for, is that parents be responsible financially for their child repeating a class, because I feel like it will go a long way toward encouraging parents to be involved in their child's education and not just throw up their hands and go, oh well, if you get an F, it's on you. Because it's not. It's on the teachers that are overburdened with kids repeating grades. It's on the special education teachers who have children labeled special ed who are not special ed. It's a burden on the school system financially. It's a burden on our taxes. And so we need to start taking it seriously and understand that it is your child's right to a free education, only one free education, and the rest of it needs to be paid for. All right, so next principle of school-age parenting. You must teach your child emergency preparedness.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so you do something really cool in your in-home that I found really fun. You teach the children to crawl on the floor.
Oh yes, they never stop crawling.
So explain the crawling thing, because we do fire drills, and in reality, in centers, we're actually doing them wrong, because we're required by licensing to teach the children to walk out of the building, when in reality, if there's a fire, that's not what we're going to be wanting them to do, to stay underneath the smoke.
Right.
So tell me what you teach in your in-home, because I find it fascinating.
Well, they start to pull up and walk around one. If you don't have them continue to practice to crawl, they can crawl a little bit, but only can crawl in short spurts. So we do baby Olympics, stair climbing, frontwards and backwards, and it's all in the commando crawl position. They do it every single day, so they don't forget how to crawl. And we do it for a lot of reasons. One, it's awesome exercise. The other thing is to be able to evacuate in the crawl position. We want them to be able to go down the stairs backwards in the crawl position, because that's safer until they can easily manage the stairs. Of course, we spot them on the stairs. So we have a lot of reasons for it, but the main one is that no matter what, they can drop and crawl to get out of a bad situation, out of our house. They can do kind of the crawling limbo and get underneath. They have crawl races. We put the couch cushions along the hallway and have them crawl from one end of the house. My house is like 1,400 square foot on one level, so we start at one end, and they can crawl all the way. We have them crawl over the couch cushions. I mean, it's great exercise in inclement weather days like today, where it was 100 degrees. We try to come up with stuff for them to do. But if you don't have them practice it, what they naturally do is crawl just a little bit, like 5 foot, and then naturally stand up.
Up and try to
So
run.
part of it is just following the directions to go against what your body naturally wants to do. A kid that can walk will walk. So part of it is just teaching them directions, but the main the main reason for it is so that in any situation I can get them to drop, crawl, go, and they can sustain it. They actually are in physical shape enough to be able to sustain a long crawl, because you never know when you're going to have to do that to get them out of the house. It's just part of the fire drill deal.
For those of you who don't know, and probably most of you don't, my mother, her parents died in a house fire when she was 16 and left her with 2 younger brothers to raise. And so for me, the topic of a house fire it's an important topic. I would like to see every single family have an emergency plan with their children, and we're going to start working on one with the girls now, because it's on my list to do things. So honey, don't let me forget. They're old enough now to start talking about the family emergency plan. And so the things that need to be discussed are where do you go?
Right.
So if there is a fire in the home or an emergency, where do we as a family meet up? Is it the front corner of the yard? Is it next door at Sue Ann's house? Is it a block away at the aunt's house? But you need to have a plan with your children of, once you get out, where do you go? There needs to be a clear and concise plan for your children of how to get out of their bedroom if a fire should start in the night. And you need to have a plan for different locations of the fire. So when you do fire drills with your children, first take them to, okay, if the fire's in your room, here's how you're going to get out. Straight out the door, down the stairs, out the front door. If the fire is in the hallway, here's how you're going to get out. Open your window, scoot on your butt down to the edge of the roof, look down and scream for anyone who can come and help you get down. Have a plan. If you are the type who is extremely emergency prepared, I highly recommend that you buy the window ladders that can hook on the windowsill, and teach your child literally climb up and down with those ladders and put them where your child can get to them. So show them how to position the ladder. Show them how to climb safely out of the window. Show them how to get to the bottom and drop to the grass. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you give them the best chance. In my mom's case, the children were not at home, so had they been at home, it might have been a very different result. But should you ever, both of her parents perished. So there were no adults, to help them get out. And so you have to teach your kids, if mom and dad are unable to get out, if we don't come out, here's where you go and here's what you do. And so you should have a plan for fire. You should have a plan for tornado or inclement weather, that even when you are not home, your children understand how to use. And you should have a 72-hour kit, which, for those of you who don't know about that, it's something that LDS families, Mormon families, do. And it is putting together enough supplies in one container to sustain everyone in the family for 72 hours. And you can actually do it in a container the size of a large coffee can. And we're going to do that one of these nights of the show. We're going to show you, we're going to have a whole show on emergency preparedness. But you can put everything your family will need for 72 hours in a very small container. And it's important to have that in case you have a tornado, your house blows down on top of you, you're in the basement, you will need certain things in order to be able to make it through until the emergency crews can get you out. You need to have a plan with your children about strangers. You need to have a plan with your children about when they're home alone. What do they say when people call on the phone? you need to let them know that telling the person on the other end that you're out for the night and that they're there by themselves is not a safe or smart idea. And so this is another principle that a lot of times parents will mean to do it, they'll talk about it, but they never quite get to it. And it's a pretty crucial one, because in my mom's case, her parents they died right in their bed. So it can turn very tragic very quickly.
Can I say one more thing about the crawling? I just thought of one of the techniques that I said of crawling up and down the stairs, commando crawling. The experience of backwards crawling is, and doing that on a day-to-day basis, feeling your way down the stairs. When I'm talking about crawling, your head is forward, the kid's head's forward, and they feel their way down the stairs. That is going to help them if they have to feel their way down a set of stairs.
Or down the ladder.
Or down, that's what I mean, the steps of the ladder. So part of that experience is to get them used to being able to feel their way down. And you have, most people have a staircase in their house. Use that staircase for emergency preparedness to teach your kid to be able to do it by rote, to be able to do it with their eyes closed. You can even blindfold or put a stocking cap on them, obviously not to make them unhappy, but to give them the experience of not being able to see and be able to, as they get older, they have to be a little bit older to do that, but to have the idea of not being able to see and be able to get your way down the stairs or climb your way up the stairs. It's very disconcerting when you can't see, but that could actually happen in a fire. So I try to recreate the worst case scenario as best as I can, so that they have as much experience as possible in case it actually happens. And flooding too. I just thought of that while you were talking about all of the stuff. We've had flooding and very, very close to my house, like within one block. Last year they evacuated our area by the 4 Mile Creek, and it was shocking to me that if flooding evacuation could get that close to my house, but it did, and so that brought up that we had to also have a plan of where we're going to go and how we're going to get there if the roads are cut off. And we were really within maybe 10 houses of that evacuation, where they evacuated an entire, like 3 mile square area. It made me realize that even, that's another thing that could happen that I have to prepare my kids for and my son for.
So practice frequently with your children. The first time you start the emergency preparedness plan, we recommend that you do it twice a week for the first month. After that, you need to do it once a month, and you can put it on your calendar, or you can wait till that fabulous tornado siren goes off the first Saturday of every month and use that as your little flag of, the tornado siren. What do we do, kids, in case of a tornado? And they'll roll their eyes at you, and they'll do it again, and they'll hate the whole process. But come time for a true emergency, they will remember that you told them what to do, and it will be habit. The thing is that you have to make it a habit. So once again, we are running out of time. It's been great. I love talking with Tori. All of you parents at home who are watching, I very much appreciate you tuning in, and Tori as well. I'm sure everybody watching you at home is all excited to see our little venture start off. We're going to be here every Tuesday.
This is our first one. We're still practicing.
7 to 8, we're going to talk about the little tots. 8 to 9, we're going to talk about the older tots. And from 9 to 10, I'm going to talk about patriotic parenting, and that's coming up next. So join us